governments, authorities, seeking out joy and happiness and doing their utmost to put a stop to it. Whenever folk find something fun and enjoyable to do, a law is erected against it, which is why it's odd we're still jumping off jetties. Ever since man first emerged from woman, he has held a special fascination for jumping into the ocean. Perhaps it stems from the moment the water broke. Perhaps men have been chasing that water ever since. A return to the depths from whence they came, as it were.
I've been jumping off jetties my whole childhood. I've jumped off Brighton, Henley, Semaphore. This is my first time at Glenelg. It looks warmer than what it actually is. The hard part's not jumping off, it's getting back up.
It was 1859 when Glenelg's first jetty was opened. Generations have walked along that seaward stretch and hurtled past its boundaries. The jump is a historical pursuit. It isn't a recent development. This has been happening for a while. Enter the Birdman Rally, the jetty jumping Mardi Gras. It began in West Sussex of England in 1971 and took only 1 year to reach Glenelg. Australians were dressing up and jumping as early as 1972. It is an occasion that has been hosted all over the world. Though many take the Birdman Rally very seriously, it isn't wholly competitive. In many cases, the glory is often in the defeat, more so than the victory. The greater the stuff up, the more spectacular the spectacle, the more enthusiastic the laughter.
The whole thing fell apart.
Glenelg's Birdman Rally did not continue past the early 1980s. However, members of the local community are attempting to bring it back. There are some issues with safety, being more of a concern now than it used to be. But with a little luck, the day will come soon where we'll gather at the jetty to witness bird people attempting flight once more. It's a constant competition. The more complex the trick, the further the launch, the higher the jump. But for some, the jump is never too high.
I've always loved jetty jumping. It's always just like the feeling you get when you jump off the jetty, that feeling of freedom. And there's always, as well, you're always trying to push it and go bigger and harder, push that fear barrier. And, you know, now I guess I've gone from jumping off a jetty at 15 feet to jumping out of a plane at 15,000 feet. And what can I say? I love
it. The art of jetty jumping has crossed seas and spread across the globe. It has religious origins too. During Theophany, the Christian feast day, the Greek Orthodox Church performs the Great Blessing of Waters. A body of water is blessed by a priest and a cross cast into the expanse. Volunteers are encouraged to jump in and recover the cross. The person who first claims it has themselves and their household blessed. Father John explains the origin of this tradition.
It started from the very, very beginning to reenact the baptism of Christ in the River Jordan. And it is also something that was done from the very beginning of the church, its existence, in order to bless the waters from which we live by. Without it, nothing survives. The throwing of the cross, of course, is because it has the crucifixion on it and it has Christ, so we throw it in the water as it blesses the water, signifying the baptism of Christ. And of course, those that jump in or swim for the cross are there as a blessing, and the one that receives it, we ask for the grace of God to bestow upon him a year of good health.
With its roots in history, religion and nature, jetty jumping is an activity so intrinsically human it can never stop.
Oh, man. Jump in the cold water first up in the morning. Best thing to get you out of your comfort zone and cures the hangover. Yeah.
There has been outcry in that past. Some have felt the dangers of this practice are too great, but injuries are, for the most part, a result of stupidity.
I ran over the railing and did the double front flip. I don't know how many times I actually turned over, but the way I landed was directly slap on my back. And I was on the water for long enough to hear the crowd that was gathering to just go, "Oh!" And as I sank, I screamed in the water for a couple of seconds and then got up and pretended like it didn't hurt me, but I was in a lot of pain and the welts on my back were very obvious.
Pretty much jumped off every part of this jetty over my period of life of jumping here, and started out on the platform, gradually made my way up further, up to the candlestick up there, but I'll never go off the wick. I just don't trust it, so don't think I ever will. It's pretty dodgy.
Diving in head first into shallow water, landing atop people already in the water, and jumping without much talent in the way of swimming, these are all things that really hurt the experience.
When the reef's sticking out of the water, it shows that it's probably a little bit too low for anyone to do any jumping off of the higher stuff, but you're pretty safe going off the platform.
So long as a measure of care and caution is taken in the jump, this tradition can survive for generations yet unborn.
I've been jumping off Glenelg Jetty for 30 years now, and I've always enjoyed it. Now that I'm getting older and more unfit, I can still jump off the jetty and have just as much fun.
Have fun. Jump. Just don't make this rite of passage your last rite.